Welcome to the Horror Ghoulies podcast. It's gonna be a real spooker.
Good job. Good job.
We really
Introductions.
needed a song intro, but it'll do for now. This week we're doing Gremlins. I'm your host, Mitchell.
I'm Rebel.
I'm Stevie.
And yeah, we had fun with this one. I think it was better than last week.
It
better
was
than Winnie the Pooh.
It was so refreshing,
It
actually.
was a lot better. Yes.
Kicking off the second episode with the classic.
Yes.
Merry Christmas, by the way, everyone.
Yes.
Oh,
If you
Merry
celebrate.
Christmas. Happy
Christmas
Hanukkah.
episode.
Happy
Yeah.
holidays.
Happy Kwanzaa. Whatever you celebrate. I hope it's happy.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're like one character in this movie,
Ugh.
maybe you don't want to celebrate Christmas.
Yeah. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
you don't.
Arguably the best character in the film.
Yeah, for sure.
There was good ones though.
I enjoyed all the characters were good.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. A lot more character development than last week.
Oh my
A lot.
god.
A lot.
No kidding.
But to start off, what have you guys been doing? Like, what
What have you been up to?
have you been into? Games?
Games. Lots of games.
Stevie, what you been playing? I know you're chomping at the
Stevie?
bit to tell us.
Lethal Company
Ooh.
with the gang. That's been great. Highly recommend. And then I finally downloaded Baldur's Gate 3, which is also quite addicting.
Yes, you did.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
what?
you
That came out of
did.
nowhere. It just won a bunch of awards or something.
It won 5 awards at the Game Awards or whatever?
5 or 6. Yeah.
Over like Spider-Man and shit. That's crazy.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, I kind of understand. I love Spider-Man, but I do agree. Baldur's Gate deserved it.
We're gonna have to get you in the Baldur's Gate there.
Oh my
There.
god, Mitchell. The game.
Just outing ourselves as a bunch of nerds, but Mitchell, what have you been doing this week?
Not much. I've been sick.
Ugh.
Who hasn't?
I've been listening to Nicki Minaj's new album nonstop. Pink
Oh.
Friday 2. It's so good.
And I need to listen.
I didn't know she was still rapping.
What?
Yeah.
You retired
it's really
or
good.
something.
No.
I'll have to check it out.
She's going on tour too. I tried to get
You
tickets
gotta
for
go.
Milwaukee, but they're so expensive. I don't have the money to.
Yeah.
I'm so sad, but I just can't
Damn.
afford it.
When's she gonna be in Milwaukee?
April, I think.
Huh.
Oh, and I watched this really good movie on Netflix. It's
Ooh.
called Leave the World Behind. It just came out.
I heard of that one. I was curious about it.
It's Ethan Hawke, Julia
I was
Roberts,
just gonna say.
and Mahershala Ali.
Ooh.
It's so good. It's scary. It's scary.
It looks like
could
a
do,
good
We could do it
cast
on this
and everything.
podcast. It's
Oh, really?
it's like end
Ooh.
of the world,
Oh.
scary. It's realistic scary. It's
That's cool.
Mm.
That's what I like.
yeah,
I enjoy that kind of shit.
but it was really good. The ending was so perfect.
Ooh. I love endings like that.
Yeah,
It leaves you off satisfied.
for sure.
How about you, Rebel?
Well, I've been working because it's Christmas time and gaming. Baldur's Gate, like we were talking about. Doing a little bit of writing, not much, but that's about it.
I feel you on the writing. I've been struggling with that one.
Yeah, I know.
Just not in the mood.
Yeah, not getting as much done as I wanted, but we're getting there slowly but surely.
That's good. What's been helping you out?
Yes, he has.
Good.
Very excited about that. So we'll see where that takes us.
I think you should send the rough draft to Mitchell when you're done with it.
Yeah, do it.
Okay, I will. You asked for it though, so
I shall read it.
all right.
This week, every time I try to write, I end up getting an idea oh, I want to read this fan fiction. And I get stuck with that. Reading a 20,000 word fan fiction. Which takes me 2 or 3 hours.
That's so funny. You're like, I'm gonna write. No, just kidding. I'm gonna read.
Yeah, I try.
At least an attempt was made.
That's right.
Well, should we get into Gremlins?
Gremlins.
Just give some quick facts, I guess.
Oh yes.
So Gremlins was released June 8th, 1984, and it was directed by Joe Dante, who also did Piranha, The Howling, which is a really good werewolf movie.
Ooh.
He did Gremlins, the sequel to Gremlins. Looks like he directed an episode of Twilight Zone. That's cool.
Oh.
Directed The Burbs.
The Burbs was good.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good filmography.
Is The Burb? Have you guys seen The Burbs?
I've seen it once. I think I need to watch it again because the first time I don't know if I was like not paying attention or something, but like
It's pretty goofy, but like,
yeah.
would that be close enough to a horror movie to be able to watch it on here?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. We
I
should.
like that movie a lot.
That's my friend's like favorite movie. She picked the movie for trivia night one night because
Oh
she's
my god,
obsessed
that's
with it.
awesome. Because it's so good. Good taste, homie.
And then it was written by Chris Columbus, who did Home Alone, and produced by Steven Spielberg, which I always get confused. I always think it's directed by Steven Spielberg because it feels like a Spielberg movie, but it's not.
Right?
So
It felt very E.T., which was also Steven Spielberg.
yeah, it's kind of like the Poltergeist. Like everybody thinks Poltergeist was directed by Steven Spielberg, but it was actually directed by the guy who directed Texas Chainsaw.
Okay, which is also a good movie.
Yeah, for sure. We should definitely do that one. Toby Hooper, that's his name. But anyways, the cast. We'll get into the cast. Zach Galligan plays Billy Peltzer. Phoebe Cates plays Kate Beringer. That's her last name, I guess. They don't really say her last name in the movie, but and then Hoyt Axton plays the dad Rand. Polly Halliday plays Mrs. Deagle.
Oh, best character.
Frances Lee McCain plays Lynn Peltzer, badass mom.
Oh
taking out all
yeah,
the
she had her
gremlins.
moments.
I think that's mostly it for like the main cast. Oh, the dog's name is Mushroom.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Mushroom as Barney.
Yeah.
And then Howie Mandel is the voice of Gizmo, which is weird.
Crazy.
I think I knew that, but I forgot about it.
I love that.
He did well.
Now I want to rewatch it just to hear his voice.
Right, now that we know.
Yeah.
So the budget was only $11 million.
Oh.
That is insane.
Wow.
How much do we know how much it made in the box office?
It made $212.9 million in the box office.
They made out?
But I wonder what that is. What the inflation would be like on that.
Like what the equivalent is? Yeah.
Like what it would be made today if they made it the same way. Like how much it would be made. How much the budget would be then. It'd probably be a lot more, but that's crazy. Rebel, do you want to give what you found about the background on gremlins?
Oh, good. Okay, so the idea of a gremlin dates back to the Royal Air Force during World War II. When something went wrong with a plane, they would blame it on little monsters called gremlins. So the author, Roald Dahl, who is in the Royal Air Force, he wrote a book called The Gremlins, which is actually what this movie is based off of. So that's where, and it actually kind of gets into that a little bit in the movie. So, which I thought was kind of a cool fact, which we will get into.
Yeah, we could probably just get right into the plot now. So the Rotten Tomatoes score for critics was 86%, which is pretty good. The audience score is a little lower, which kind of surprises me because this movie just seems like pretty much a classic. You know? Right? It's a 78% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's kind of weird.
IMDb score is 7.3, and the Letterboxd score is 3.6. So it's like pretty average.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of weird because everyone that I told, I was like, oh yeah, we're doing Gremlins, or if we ever talk about it, they're like, oh, Gremlins is like my favorite. It's such a good movie.
Yeah.
So like everyone was like, oh, it's so good, and I've never seen it before. So I was kind of...
Yeah, I can't believe you've never seen it.
I had never seen it. It's my mom's favorite movie, and I think it was just Teenage Rebellion, you know? I was just like, it's your favorite movie? I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things.
For sure.
And so I'm not going to watch it, and I'm glad I did. I wish I would have watched it before. I actually texted her during the movie and was like... Okay, you were right. It's actually really good. And she's like, I
told you. I know how that is though. Like my mom has gotten trying to get me to watch. She tried to get me to watch Boogie Nights with Mark Wahlberg for like the longest time, and I was like, no, I'm not watching it. I'm not watching it. And I don't know why. It's just like one of those things.
When your parents tell you to watch it, you automatically like, yeah, it's probably bad.
Yeah. Right? Then I finally watched it. I was like, this movie's fucking so awesome.
Right? That was me when I came to your house to watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I was kind of like, It's, you know, I enjoy watching movies with my friends. I'll watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It was fucking awesome. That was a great movie, actually. Like, I don't know why everyone shits on it.
It was a good movie. We should cover that.
We should. I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
I fucking loved it.
Yeah. At first, I was like, I don't know, because like at first we were like, I don't know, people would feel about this. It's really cheesy.
I was very sus of that movie. I was like, this is gonna be the dumbest shit ever.
And then all of a sudden, it just like popped off. So good.
I am on the sus end. I will probably skip that one.
No.
Oh no!
It's about clowns.
It's so good.
No,
about
it's so good.
I don't think I can do
Oh,
it.
you don't like clowns?
I don't think I
Okay.
can do it. It has
Oh,
the clowns.
man. Oh,
Yeah, we
the
should.
fucking theme to that movie is a bomb too. Like, that's a great song.
Yeah, it's one of those things I just don't think I can. I don't know.
They're not like that creepy. They're more silly looking.
They're goofy.
It
They're like-
doesn't matter.
They're like
Doesn't
alien
matter.
looking. Yeah.
It does not.
The popcorn gun was my favorite.
See, we could just
I
get a
want
guest
one.
for that episode.
Yeah, get a
Maybe Trent will
guest.
join us.
Yeah.
We'll get Trent on. Yeah, or
Yeah,
Chris.
Trent will join us.
Yeah.
Or Chris. Yeah.
Anybody. Absolutely, that'd be fun. Trent has opinions, I'm sure.
Anyways, we should.
We should get
So
going.
we gave out some facts. Do we have any others that we didn't cover?
Pretty much good on
I
that.
think we're ready to dive
I'll talk
in.
about the score to this movie.
Oh, yes. Oh, before we
Oh,
start, though,
yeah.
spoilers, obviously, if you've gotten this far, we are going to talk
Yeah.
about the
Yes.
movie. And
If you haven't seen it yet,
if you haven't seen it yet, go watch it and then come back. So, anywho,
All right.
let's jump right in.
all right. It starts out with Rand, the Billy's dad, in Chinatown, looking for a present for Billy, and he meets this kid, and the kid takes him to his grandpa's store, like kind of like under the stairs or whatever. He's like, "Where are you taking me?"
So it's down here.
And then he goes in and he's looking around the shop and like talking to the kid and the grandpa and trying to sell him. He's a
Inventor. He's an inventor.
amateur inventor, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't know. His inventions don't seem to work very well. So he tries to sell him the bathroom buddy.
He says, "You know what you don't have in here? One of these guys."
And then while he's pitching the bathroom buddy, he hears a little noise. He's like, "What's that?" And then he finds the Mogwai. He's like, "Oh, this would be a great gift for my kid. Like, how much? How much do you want for him?" Like, "I'll give you $100." And then he's like, No. The grandpa's like not going for it at all. And then he's like, 200. And then the kid's like, "Grandpa, what are you doing? Like,
Like, what are you doing? That's $200.
sell him already." So then the kid's like, "Go wait outside. I'll talk to my grandpa." So the dad goes outside, and then the kid comes out with the Mogwai and gives it to the dad, and just basically behind the grandpa's back, I think, I would assume.
Yeah, it was behind the grandpa's back.
I am assuming the grandpa didn't know at all.
Yeah. And then the kid tells him the 3 rules, which is keep him out of sunlight because it'll kill him. They don't like bright lights, and keep them out of sunlight because they'll kill them. Because it'll kill them. I'm guessing like the bright lights, they're scared of light, I guess. So like maybe like the bright lights won't kill them.
Knowing that they can't have sun. Yeah.
Yeah, just the sunlight will kill them
Yeah.
anyways. So then the second rule is don't get them wet. And then the third rule, which is the main rule, is don't feed them after midnight.
Mitch, I'm going to interrupt you really quick
Oh,
because
sure.
I put what $200 is in an inflation calculator. So in the 80s, $200 in today's money is $746.77.
Oh,
So that's how much he spent, technically, in today's money on this Mogwai.
damn.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty good money.
And they're behind on rent.
If I were the kid, I'd be shocked too. Like, Grandpa, you're a crazy fucking dick.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing? We need the money.
So then it cuts to the title screen, like Gremlins or whatever, and it's playing Christmas song, and it some people are selling Christmas trees. Young Corey Feldman's in like a Christmas tree costume.
I love it. Someone tried to pick him as a tree. They're like, "Oh, this is a nice tree," and he's like, "Hey!" And they're like, "What are you doing?" That's like one of my favorite parts. I really, really like I don't even know what word to use. The whimsicalness of some of the scenes. How like that scene didn't really have to be in this movie, but because it was like, it really built up the characters, it built up the atmosphere of the town and how everyone kind of knows everyone. That is something I wanted to point out as someone who, and you guys probably experience this too, as people who live in a small town, when it's portrayed in movies, it's always wrong.
Yeah.
It's never accurately represented.
Facts. Because it's never filmed in a small town either.
And it's never actually filmed in a small town. This one did probably one of the best I've seen in a long time, if not the best I've seen ever. Everyone seemed to actually know everyone. He knew immediately whose kid Billy was from, and like, you know, the neighbors were all talking to each other, and they all knew who Mrs. Deagle was, which she owns half the town, but still, like, they all know each other and they all interact with each other like a small town does. And I really like that point because you don't see that in media very often.
Uh-huh. And it really starts right off, like, cements that it's Christmas and, like, feels very Christmassy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good watch for Christmas, for sure.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So then it goes to Billy. He's going to work, and he's trying to start his car, and then Mr. Flutterman comes over, and he's like, damn foreigner.
Yeah,
I don't know,
he just goes off, like...
racist a little bit.
Yeah, like, he is so, like, you can tell he has these interactions a lot, and, like, going back to the small town thing, he knows that Billy is into comics and into, you know, he's like, is an artist, and like, oh, you gonna have a strip in the paper next to, I forget what comic he...
Lil Abner.
Oh, yeah. Kind of alludes to the fact that he's like a cartoonist.
Yeah, and Billy's like, that's not in the paper anymore. Like, you're reading old papers. What are you doing?
Lil Abner, I believe, was in the papers in either the 30s or 40s.
And he couldn't get his car started, so him and his dog, Barney, walk to work. And then he gets there late.
Right on time, according to...
Just about. He made it right in time.
And then Mrs. Deagle's like walking down the street with the broken snowman head, and she's just like fucking so grumpy. Everybody's like, hey, Miss Deagle. She's like, fuck off. Well, she doesn't actually say that, but
she's like, what'd she say? She said something. She's like, klutz.
She's like such a bitch.
It's like walking by people. She's running into them, and when she goes across the street, Stevie and I were like, oh, she has no fear. Like, she just walked across the street, marched into the bank because she owns it. And, you know, who cares?
Well, then the mom and the mom with her two kids, like, stops her outside the bank and is, like, pleading with her to, like, keep her house or whatever. And Mrs. Deagle's just like, well, maybe you should, you know, pay your bills instead of looking for Christmas presents or whatever the fuck. Like, she's just being a total bitch about it.
Yeah, like, the wife's like, you know, I took up a job, so I'm doing sewing on the side. My husband took up 2 more jobs, and like, it looked like the woman was pregnant, but I don't know. Like, she was in a coat too, so
yeah.
So like, she has these 2 kids. She's probably expecting another. She's like trying to, you know, just survive.
And I guess their house is foreclosed on or something. Like, she's trying to like beg her to like keep
that is something that
extend the
confused
payments or whatever because it's Christmas. And
yeah, is Mrs. Deagle a landlord or is she in the bank?
She's a realty agent,
okay,
or whatever.
So
I'm guessing like she works with the bank.
She works with the bank,
is, like,
and the
trying
bank
to foreclose on her house.
Is trying to foreclose on her house. Okay.
Yeah. So she owns like a bunch of property around town. She's just an evil lady. But then like she goes inside and the kids are like, Mom, I'm hungry.
And she's like, me too.
They're like so sad.
Your mom says me too.
Yeah, someone says me too. So then she goes in and she's like, she storms up to the front. She's like, he's the teller, and she storms up and she's like, your dog broke my snowman, my expensive snowman, blah blah blah. And Billy's like, oh, I'm sorry, like
I'll pay for it. Like she's like, I don't want your money.
She's like, I don't want your money, I want your dog. And she's like, I'll put the little rundown myself.
Like, she's so creepy.
Yeah,
she's the creepiest thing in this movie.
One thing I wanted to talk about too was like the music, the the song that they played when she entered, like you instantly knew this is
Oh
the
yeah.
people they're talking about.
The score
Yes.
is
The
so
villain.
good.
Yes,
That was
that is
great.
so true.
It just like the song captured the emotions you were supposed to feel towards this woman so perfectly.
Yeah,
You didn't
because
even
like
know her. She was just walking down the street
yeah,
with a
because
snowman head.
Billy goes into work and what's the girl's name? I think I have
Kate?
it written. Kate. Kate comes up to him and is like, Mrs. Deagle is trying, sign this petition. And without even asking what it is, he starts signing. He's like, what's this for? Like, he's like, yeah, I'll sign it. What is it for?
Yeah, Mrs. Deagle's like berating him, like saying that she wants his dog. She wants to like put his dog down or whatever. And then the dog Barney gets loose.
She would give it a slow and painful death if she got her hands on that dog
Yeah, slow and painful death.
And something about a dryer.
on high heat.
And then who is the guy? Was that just like a random guy that was like, that would do it? Like, what?
Yeah,
It's just a friendly in town.
yeah, the old man.
Agreeable.
And then Barney gets loose, the dog gets loose and like attacks Mrs. Deagle, and she's like playing it up to 100. She's like, "Oh my heart!
I have a weak heart."
Oh my god!" And then what does the coworker say? Like, it's a bank, not a dog
Something like
pound.
that,
or something
yeah.
like
Like,
that.
not a pet store. It's a bank, not a pet store.
Not a pet store. And then the owner's like, or the main boss is like, good one.
Yeah. Like, they like feed off of each other.
Yeah. And then she's just like, yeah, my heart, like playing it up, like. And then Billy's at the bar. It cuts to Billy at the bar drawing a picture of Mrs. Deagle as a dragon. The guy next to her is like, oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one. That's a nation. Like,
and then like the creepy coworker guy that was like making the joke about the pet store or whatever, he comes in and is like giving him shit.
he calls him Clip On because he wears a Clip On tie.
Yeah. Captain Clip On.
Right. Trying to make him out sound poor.
Yeah, they're just like having drinks or whatever, and then Kate comes up and she's working at the thing.
So is she related to the owner of the bar?
No, I think she just does it as like a second job.
Well, because she's not getting paid.
She's not getting paid it.
Mm-mm.
Oh, she's not getting.
No,
she's not.
she's because
Well, she gets paid, but not a lot.
Because she said, "Oh, if I work here, then he doesn't have to pay for a second waitress."
Mm-hmm. And then the guy calling Billy
And he's
Clip-On
like, "Oh, you're working for free."
was saying, yeah, he was making fun of her for working for free.
Yeah, I think it's just because like she doesn't get paid a lot.
Oh, well, I don't know if she was related to it. I feel like there's more information in the book. I would like to read the book and feel like because maybe there's like more relations that can be discovered.
Yeah. But then he says, he makes a bunch of creepy comments like, "Oh, you can come to my apartment,
I have
or
cable.
come check out my new apartment." And then
She's like, "I haven't been to your old one.
"I haven't seen your old one."
She had so many good singers. I really enjoyed her a lot. Like, she was very real, and she wasn't this like helpless woman or anything. She was just like, I'm gonna do what I need to do, and she, her character was very, very well done.
Yeah. So then Billy goes home and he's like coming through the door, like shuts the door, and like they got like swords on the wall, and like the sword falls down, like kind of like a foreshadow for what's later.
I love how they used it as a doorbell because no one in this movie knocks or uses the doorbell at all. They just walk in people's houses.
True.
So like anytime you may not hear them, but you're gonna hear that sword fall.
Right. And then he goes in the kitchen and his mom's like watching It's a Wonderful Life, and she like seems kind of like something's upset her or whatever. Oh, and he like he's like, can I help you with anything? And she's like, you can crack the eggs. And he goes over and tries to use his dad's like egg cracking invention, and it just doesn't work at all. It just like fucking cracks the eggs and all the eggs just fall into the bowl.
I love the mom's comment, how she said, well, your dad's gadgets work for about up like 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh yeah,
and they just break.
So good for a week, and then I love how they all just put up with it. Like,
she's a very supportive wife for putting up with all those machines. She tries; they don't work.
Yeah.
Eventually, she has to give up, but
But I love how, like, he knows they don't work most of the time. Like, the coffee scene, how she's like, I don't think we can drink this. And he's like, why not? But, like, he knows he's not going to be able to drink it. And he's, like, joking around with her. And, like...
Right. Same with later on with the phone. She has a remote that's supposed to manually answer the phone.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Takes her a minute to answer the phone. And he asks, like, oh, it took you a minute, basically. What's going on? She said, oh, I was just on the porch, lying to him to make him feel better.
Yeah, she could have easily just turned and answered the phone instantly. But instead, she grabbed the remote to hit it because she loved, like, you can tell she really loves her husband.
Gave it a few tries.
And she gave it, and it wasn't even like, oh, I'm doing it because I love him. It's like, that's just kind of their life. And, like, I love how genuine the family dynamic is. It's not like, oh, they're just putting up with him, like he's a loser. They're super excited when he gets home. They support him when he goes to these conventions. I really like that dynamic because you don't see that a lot. It's normally just like, whatever. I don't know. I really enjoy it.
Like, how are we going to pay for a bill?
Yeah, no, they're like, well,
there was no arguing. Mm-mm. They just kind of got along. They got on as well as they could.
Family.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the mom, like, Billy's like, Mom, really, what's wrong? Or whatever. And then she's like, well, Mrs. Deagle called again. So I don't know if, like, Mrs. Deagle was calling because they were behind on their house bills.
That's what I'm guessing.
Or if it was because of the dog. I don't know.
Right. I was guessing house bills.
Like, maybe she was trying to get the dog.
Because he said, don't tell your dad. And then later when he's like, yeah, I'm probably going to sell some of these. And she kind of gives Billy a look like, no, he's not, but we'll figure out a way to make it.
Yeah. So then the dad comes home and they're all excited to see him and stuff. And he's got the box with the Christmas present for Billy. And he's like, oh, I got an early Christmas present for you. You got to open it right now.
Billy
and then he's like,
it.
Is it a new dog?
A new dog, and then shakes it.
He's like shaking it. He's like, don't take it.
I think he said bird cage, didn't he?
Yeah, he said bird cage.
Yeah.
He just immediately, like, there was something in it. He thought it was a bird cage, and he shakes it. Don't take it.
So then they sit around the fire, and he asks his wife to, like, lower the lights or whatever. And she uses she's got, like, this big ass, like, controller with, like, this big ass antenna.
And she's
like trying to dim the lights.
She dims the lights.
I don't think does it work? I can't remember.
Yeah, it
did work.
Oh, it worked. It took her twice as long to do all that than to actually, Then
it wouldn't just go and, like, turn off the lights. So then Billy opens the present, and it's Gizmo, the Mogwai. And they name it Gizmo. And then the mom tries to take a picture of him, and the flash scares Gizmo. And that's when the dad tells him the 3 rules. And he's like, oh yeah, don't do the, they don't like bright lights. Don't get them wet, and don't feed them after midnight. So then it cuts to Billy and Gizmo just, like, bonding in their room, and he's, like, playing the keyboard.
I love this scene so much.
Gizmo's, like, harmonizing to him.
I love this scene so much.
To the keyboard.
It's so cute.
Yeah, it's very cute. And then he puts the Santa Claus hat on him and stuff.
Yeah.
And he falls into the garbage.
Yeah, because he shows it. So he puts the Santa Claus hat on him and gives him a mirror to see it. Well, the mirror reflected the light. And it scared Gizmo and, like, shocked him back, and he falls into the garbage.
Yeah. And then Billy just, like, bandages him up.
Yeah. I like how quickly the Mogwai learn. They learn very quickly. But, like, also, like, it's kind of infant-like at the same time. And so it's something that I think a lot of people would find cute and adorable and very, like, personable in a way. So I really like that kind of factor that is going on there. Like when he gets injured, after he falls into the trash can, he gets injured, and Billy scoops him up and is like, oh, you hurt yourself, oh no. And he, like, runs into the bathroom, and the first time that Gidget really speaks so far, he says, bright light, like, turn off the light, like, and Billy's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, and turns it off for him. And so I was like, I really like that part. Like they're starting to learn each other. You kind of get the feeling that Gidget wasn't very able to learn much, and then now he's able to learn. He's just kind of in a cage in that shop for however long he was in there. I really liked that part. Now we like bandage him up and they put him in the bed and he's got the little bandage on his head.
That was
He's
adorable.
like snuggled in the bed. It was so cute.
So then the next morning, Billy he's in the kitchen and he's like trying to make orange juice.
Oh, yes.
And the orange juice just like, he puts the orange in the maker and it just like fucking sprays orange juice everywhere.
He goes and grabs an orange and he's just praying it's gonna work, but he knows it's not going to, and he just puts it in there and then just everything gushes out.
And as that's happening, Pete, Corey Feldman's character Pete, is like dragging the tree in.
Just like opens, in his tree costume.
Just barges in their house, like
just opens the door.
Billy, I got your Christmas tree. As he's dressed up as a Christmas tree.
That's part of like the small town feeling of like just walking into the house.
Yes.
Like he knows he's welcome.
They must be friends. Like they must like know each
like
other.
this child just walks into a random house.
Yeah.
Well, like
it's probably like Billy's like annoying little neighbor that like
yeah
always comes over and just like hangs out with Billy.
That is one weird thing about the movie, and I feel like maybe the book might shed some light on it. Like I feel like that's a very weird dynamic because Billy's like in his 20s, I'm assuming. And this kid is in middle school. Like, what are you doing hanging out with a 20-year-old?
Yeah, true, yeah. It's probably just like the neighborly thing.
Yeah,
like,
and I think that's kind of what it is.
Just like an annoying little neighbor shit.
I think he's like a little brother. And that's the feeling you get. It's very brotherly. It's like...
I get that. There's a little girl that hangs out with me at work sometimes. She'll get your mom and come and hang out with me at the hotel for a while.
And and you're like, but if you were to say, "Oh yeah, I hang out with a middle schooler," people would be like, "What are you doing?"
I give her snacks. I let her borrow my comics. Yeah, and it's not weird.
And Gizmo's just like in his room, like watching the race car.
I love how Gizmo
watching the race car movie, and he's like pretending to like do little race cars.
Gizmo knows how to get comfy. Have you noticed that? And in every scene, Gizmo is like snuggled up in something, and he's just comfortable all the time. Like if I could live a life like Gizmo,
he's just having a good time outside the box.
100%. He knows how to live. He's snuggled up, watching TV, living a good life.
Better than living in a box in the like fucking
on a shelf.
Chinatown store. Yeah.
I wonder if he doesn't always live like that though.
Yeah, they probably like. I don't know.
I guess we could save that convo for the end of our little podcast, the end of the movie. But I wonder.
Because he seemed happy. Well, yeah, he seemed happy later on. But anyways, so they're upstairs upstairs in Billy's room, and Pete like sees Gizmo and he's like, "Oh, that's cool. Like, where can I get one? Like, I want one." And they're just like, messing around with Gizmo or whatever. He's like, "Can I hold him?" And then Billy's like, "Sure." He seems to like to be held or whatever. And then as he goes to pick up Gizmo, he knocks over a water. It must be like painting. I think there's like paintbrushes in it.
Yeah, I think it was like paintbrushes, and it had water in it.
Yeah, and it had water in it, and he like spills it on Gizmo, and Gizmo starts like. Gizmo's like having a seizure on the ground. Like
I absolutely hated this part so much because this is your pet that you have bonded with, and he's like screaming, writhing in pain. And what you do is you turn to the kid and go, "Really?" Like like my first reaction would be
the reaction wasn't there.
Yeah,
they don't seem concerned at all.
No concern for Gizmo.
They're just like, "What's happening?" I would have screamed for my mom right then and there, like, "My fucking pet is bubbling right now."
Yeah.
Right?
But they don't help him.
All these little like fluff balls like fly out of his back, and so there's 5 of them, and then they like
the size of a cotton ball.
Yeah,
a cotton ball.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that show, Cotton Puffy. Like, Puppy Puppy or whatever the fuck from PBS or whatever.
Oh
Remember
yeah,
that? We
Canadian
tried to find it.
television. I did find it. Most of the episodes like don't exist anymore, but I found one episode. I can send it to you.
Yeah, you
Saved on
should.
YouTube.
If anybody remembers that show, it's like,
I think it's like a
what is
French
that called when you
Canadian.
like? It's like a lost media or
Yeah.
whatever.
Let me look it up real quick.
But anyways, the little puffballs like start growing, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? And then they grow into like full size mogwais or whatever. Like,
And they all look just like Gizmo. Well, kind of. They all kind of look just like, except Stripe.
yeah, except for Stripe. And like, I think they say it? No, they say it later. Because he goes and gets his dad, and his dad's like messing with the bathroom buddy or whatever. And
Yeah.
he's like, I upgraded it, and then because Billy's like, yeah, Billy's like, oh, there's something with the Mogwai, and then he's like, wait, real quick,
Yeah.
dude, look at this upgrade I did to the bathroom
Yeah.
buddy. So then he like
You need a
shows him the
razor,
bathroom
and
buddy,
Billy's like, cool. Like, so into it.
Billy's like looking at it, and he like sprays
It's like, what's this button do?
shaving cream all over him. He's like, oh,
He's like, I'm so sorry.
like, oh, that's okay.
It's still.
And then he's like, so what's going on then? And he brings him downstairs, and he's like, we got him wet, and he, now there's 5. We got him wet, and now there's 5 more or whatever. Like, he multiplied, and right away the dad's like,
we can profit.
we can profit from this. What does he say? Pelts or pets or
Yeah.
some shit?
Pelts or pets. These will replace the dogs. And then
Yeah, he's like, these will replace the dog, and the dog's like, what? The dog looks all freaked out.
And I love
It's so
that
funny.
Billy immediately recognizes that he's like, they act different than Gizmo. They're different. They change, like they all have different character personality.
Yeah.
And he's like, the Stripe one's the leader.
Yeah.
And he's a bull. And then he like spits on the one playing the trumpet.
Yeah.
They're like, I love how they're in the middle of a disaster. The Gremlins, well, they're not Gremlins yet, but the Mogwai go in and had opened all the Christmas presents.
Yeah, it's so chaotic.
First off, I don't know whose child they're like buying for, but all of these presents are very for children, and Billy is not a child. So like,
Yeah.
So they had a little mini game console that they're playing, which I could see maybe Billy would want that. I don't know. But then they
Yeah.
had this like little trumpet that had like wrapping paper, so it was wrapped up. Like, I don't know what child. I don't know.
Maybe they got him. Maybe they got it for Gizmo. Like maybe like the presents were
Yeah, but
for Gizmo.
But Gizmo hadn't been around yet. Maybe the
I
mom
guess.
is just a
But
really
we don't
good
know how much
shopper.
time passed.
Yeah. Well, I just assumed
Yeah.
it was the next day because it was like,
Oh yeah, true. Because they kind of like went to bed and then it cut to the next day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's weird. Yeah.
because like at the scene with the stocking, a little robot falls out. I'm like, Billy is not going to want that, and there's only one stocking up there, so
He's like 20 years
he's like,
old. Maybe they got like some little nephews or something. Who
Yeah.
knows? Or
Well,
well, they wouldn't be nephews, like little cousins or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I was gonna say Gizmo just looks so sad. Like he's just like all depressed.
poor little baby, because he knows what's going
Billy's
to
like,
happen.
what's wrong, Gizmo?
Gizmo is
And
so
then-
like wears his emotions on his face. What's that word? Like very expressive.
Yeah.
For a little, puppet that, shouldn't be as expressive as he is. He's very, very expressive.
Yeah.
They did so well.
They did very well with that.
Yeah. What's the guy's name that did the puppets?
Chris Wallace, Walas.
Yeah. But the practical effects are so good in this movie. Hollywood. If you ever listen to this podcast, bring back practical effects. I say it all the time. Ugh.
Fucking A.
I fucking hate CGI so much.
I just, it was done. Like, I couldn't help but be like, obviously you could tell it was fake. But like, it wasn't in a bad way. It was like, that's so cool. I want to touch it. Like, I want to,
Yeah.
and like the effects were just so well done. And something I wanted to bring up is the background, the setting of everything, like all of the lights in the town, and like the home was all set up with knickknacks. Like it looked like someone's home, and they just like went in and filmed. And
Yeah.
you don't see
It
that.
very well could have been.
Yeah, well, you don't see that in today.
It's crazy to think that's like somebody like had to like pick out all like
Yeah, like that was
somebody like
job.
designed all the
Mhm.
stuff, like picked
Like a
out
set
all
designer,
the little
yeah.
like knickknacks and like yeah.
And
it's
someone did that, and they did
awesome.
an awesome job. Like
Yeah.
you could feel like I felt like you could go in, like even the carpet was a specific color, and like just random little details that you don't see that in movies nowadays at all.
Yeah.
I noticed that very much in the kitchen of the main cast, like their house. It was very like it looked like an average kitchen. You'd go into your friend's house and your mom would be in the kitchen
Yeah.
cooking, and that's like just from like the drapes and everything.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It was just so like it didn't look like a set. It didn't look like, you know how sometimes like you like especially on like sitcoms or stuff like that, like it looks like a set house or it looks like a set kitchen or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they do decent, but this one was very well done. Like even in the laundry room, they had like laundry piled on the washer and dryer when he went to go get Gizmo.
Mhm.
Like there was laundry piled up there like a home lived in.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it sold it very, very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
So like outside of the house as well, like in the bar, that looked like your typical like dive bar. In the theater, like everywhere, they did very well in the stores. Like
in the bank had all these like little details of, you know, it wasn't just like, I'm kind of going back to Pooh of Blood and Honey. Like you walked into the house and it was bare. There was no background. There was no picture. I don't think there was any pictures on the walls. Nothing notable.
Very average.
Yes. Part of that is also just like how designs have changed and how like trends have changed. I will say that because, you know, in the 80s it was very knick-knacky, and, you know, like she had like fancy plates on the back, like hanging on the wall, and then in the kitchen too. So like part of it is the time period, but a lot of it is just like people not wanting to put in the effort in movies.
So I looked up the set decorator on IMDb. Her name is Jackie Carr.
Jackie Carr. She needs a huge mention because she did amazing.
She also did she was also the set decorator for Jurassic Park.
Okay.
So she must.
That explains so much. She did a great job.
She did a fantastic. Like that was fantastic. Just
she's worked with Spielberg before.
I'm guessing that would be the right person.
Is there
set decorator?
Is there like a set design?
Production designer was James H. Spencer, and he worked on The Burbs and Poltergeist.
Okay.
But shall we get back to the plot? Oh, so like they so this is the scene where like there's Billy's like wakes up in the middle of the night and hears Barney like yelping or whatever.
This would make me so sad.
And he goes outside and Barney's just like strung up with like Christmas lights.
Yeah, like at the beginning of this scene, you knew that something was gonna happen because Stripe is like, it's like showing all the gremlin, all the mogwai, like just, you know, sleeping, and then Stripe's eyes like open, and you like, he's like,
oh yeah, he's got that kind of like
he's like,
I'm gonna
get up to some mischief, and then all of a sudden you hear Barney whining, and like, he's like, what's going on?
So he goes outside and finds them like strung up in like Christmas lights and shit.
It's like
poor dog.
Just a couple minutes away from being a popsicle.
Yeah. They're drying him off in the kitchen, and right away Billy's like, I know it was Mrs. Deagle. Yeah. And then the mom's like, we don't know that. We can't play fingers yet. Like,
yeah, the mom's like being the voice of reason, like,
yeah. So then Billy brings one of the new Mogwai to his old teacher, his old science teacher.
Which I thought was weird. What's the science teacher gonna know? Like, At first, I thought it was a high
Yeah.
school science teacher, but then you realize it's a middle school science teacher.
Yeah.
What's a middle school science teacher going to know about, like,
A new species.
This strange
a new
creature.
species of creature?
Right.
Like, I don't know. Like, nothing against science teachers at all whatsoever. Like, but I'm just saying.
He
like,
seemed like a smart guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'd probably, honestly, if some shit like that happened to me, I would probably go to my old high school biology teacher, too. Like, Miss Manhennick would... she'd be down to help me out with my weird project. Rip to her, though, when, inevitably...
I will say, if I have to have a bone to pick with this movie, if I have to, I do not like that they kind of made the science teacher almost like a villain. Did you guys notice that? Did you pick up on that?
Yeah.
Like, they almost made him like a mad scientist kind of character, and I
He
did not...
apologized for pricking the little guy with the syringe.
Yeah, but, like, it was, like, creepy.
Yeah. He was just trying to figure out, like, what he is.
I
or
felt
whatever.
more like I felt like it should have been more for, like, the science and, like, oh my gosh, like, this is so cool. It's a new creature. Like, this is intriguing. Like, kind of like when he was describing the pupa part.
Mhm. Yeah.
But, like, then he just, like, stabs a needle in him and is like, oh, you're fine, big guy. Like, I felt like that was very out of character and kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I think I wish that they would have made him more gentler and more like, it's okay, like, I'm just trying to figure out what you are, buddy, because I feel like that's more what the character would have done. Does that make sense? Versus just being like this weird, I'm gonna poke you with a needle. Because I felt like that's what he was doing. I don't know.
I get that.
So, like, teacher keeps Billy shows him that, like, puts water dropper on him and he multiplies, and then
I like that they
the
do
teacher's
this
like, what the fuck?
because it foreshadows that the amount of water gives the amount of gremlins.
Oh, yeah, I never thought of that.
Because they had more water in the cup and you got 5 gremlin or 5.
And then you just do one
Mogwai,
drop.
and then you did one drop and you got 1.
Oh, I guess I never noticed that.
And then later on we find what happens, when there's a ton of water.
Yeah. So then Billy goes to the bar and meets Kate, and it's like bar close, and like Kate's trying to get Mr. Futterman out, and he's like, he's like trying to get him out, and he's like, I'll help you clean the bar or whatever, and he's like, no, you gotta go home. So then he must have drove his fucking tractor thing there.
I'm calling it a plow, but it was definitely like, I don't know, maybe it was
like a big
dialect
tractor
thing.
plow.
Yeah, like around here we just would be like, oh, that's a tractor, and I just attached a plow to it. I don't know.
He goes to his tractor to drive home, and he's obviously super drunk. They're like, maybe you shouldn't drive home. And he's just rambling about the foreigners putting gremlins in our American shit or whatever. I think he found out that there was foreign parts in his American made tractor, and he was all mad about it or whatever.
He found out that there was foreign parts in his American made tractor, and he was very upset.
And he was like, they put gremlins in our stuff, blah blah blah.
And this is when the point
going on and on.
This is when the point of where it kind of comes of the gremlins, the origin of the word, because he's like, that's how they got the planes down during the World War II.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of where the origin of the gremlins comes full circle, which I thought was really cool that they put that in the movie. Because when I first watched the scene, I was like, why are they that's kind of like a random rambling. But after you realize, oh no, it's actually, he's, there's a reason why he's saying this stuff.
Yeah. So they're like, yeah, you probably shouldn't drive home. And he's like, yeah, you're right. And he's just they just say goodbye to him. And then
I'll walk.
Billy walks Kate home. And then that's when it gets all depressing, and she's
she mentions not liking Christmas, and
she mentions not liking Christmas, and Billy's like, I thought everybody loved Christmas. And
then she's so not he's not reading the room. He's not it's obvious something happened to her, and she doesn't like Christmas for a reason. She makes it very obvious, and he's like, well, Christmas is a happy time, and she's like, Yeah, when like trigger warning because she says some very triggering things.
Yeah, she says.
She straight up goes. I think I wrote it down. When people are ripping, she doesn't use ripping, does she?
She says some people open up gifts and some people open up their wrists.
And I was like,
I was like,
whoa,
this is so dark.
Goodness.
Yeah, and then she just talks about like people being depressed over the holidays.
Yeah.
Oh, and she says something about Mr. Futterman. She says the reason why he's drinking so much is because he lost his job.
The plant closed down.
Yeah, it gets hard around
and
the
sometimes you just have to be
holidays
nice
for him and stuff.
And that's kind of what brings up the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's like, well, I thought everyone was happy during the holidays. Like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, the suicide rates go way up during Christmas. Don't you know that? And he's like,
yeah.
And then
she gets so defensive.
Yes. And then what's he do? He asks her out on a date because that's what you got to do.
Yeah. He's like, why do you hate Christmas? And she gets like all pissed off. And then
she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just cranky. Like she just tries to brush it off. And then he's like, how about we go on a date? And she's like, oh, okay.
She's like, oh, forgiven.
Like, whatever. If that's what you want to do.
Oh, and then that's when the science teacher, they show the science teacher like taking blood from the Mogwai.
Yeah, I wrote down, he never gave the science teacher the rules.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he never did.
He never did.
That's weird.
No.
So irresponsible, as the old man says later on. Oh, yeah, and then it's like Billy and Gizmo are just chilling in the bed, and the other Mogwai are like in the boxes, like just going crazy, being annoying. He's like, what the heck I already fed you, like, what are you doing? Like, blah, blah, blah. And he looks at the clock and it says that it's before midnight. I can't remember the exact time. It's like 11 or something.
It was 20 till.
Yeah.
Very close, yeah.
And he was like, okay, I guess they're just hungry. So he goes downstairs and grabs
a
plate full of chicken. Like, not wrapped or anything. It's just a plate of chicken. Like, okay, that's a lot of leftovers, but all right. And so he just goes and just like throws the plate he like dumps the plate in the thing, and they're just like tearing the chicken apart, and they were like kind of whispering to each other too, like
you could tell they were planning something.
Stripe was like kind of like whispering like really low to like the other
I will say that something I just thought of. At one point, Billy takes out a piece. I thought he was gonna get his hand eaten, but he takes out a piece of chicken and hands it to Gizmo. Like, Gizmo, are you hungry? Like, you can eat. And Gizmo says, mm-mm. And that's very, very, very important. And you don't think it's important.
And during all this, Gizmo looks all like scared and shit. Like he's like, he like kind of knows what's going on. Like he's like,
and he just politely goes, mm-mm. And like it very much shows Gizmo's like attitude and like the kind of little Mogwai that Gizmo is. And it really foreshadows it. And I didn't realize that until about just now, how important of a detail that was.
Yeah. And they're also watching that movie too. Like the movie on the screen, it's like a horror movie and it's like The Pods or something.
Yes.
And it like shows like it's kind of like foreshadowing what happens with
I really like how they use movies in this movie to foreshadow things or to like kind of move on with the scenes. Like it's such a good way to transition and to jump from scene to scene and to like foreshadow. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah. So then it shows the teacher leaving. The teacher leaves the school. It cuts back to the school, and the teacher leaves, and then he left the sandwich.
And did you notice the clock in the background?
Oh yeah,
and it says it's after midnight.
It shows the time. Yep. And he grabs the rest of the sandwich and eats it. Then Billy wakes up, and there's like gross like cocoon things like all over the floor, and he's just like, Mom, can you come up here?
The first thing he does is, Mom, and she's like, oh, okay. I do want to ask a question. I have a question for you guys.
Sure.
How did time zones work in this? So, like, if I were to have a gremlin, if I were to have a little Mogwai, and I were to then take it to your guys' house, our time zones are different. So, like, how does it know? Is it just whatever time zone you're in? Or is it...
I would probably stick with the time zone that I bought. Like, got the Mogwai in,
right?
maybe.
So when in doubt, I always go with Eastern time. That's always my like rule of thumb.
Yeah. I mean, he got it in New York
Right.
in Chinatown.
So I'd go off of that.
What if you like got it like here and then moved to like California,
California?
where it's like 7
You're
hours ahead, and
fucked.
you're like trying to like remember what you're like.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, you know, what if it
It's
was
like
like,
what is it like 5 hours ahead or something?
because you don't know where the Mogwai originated from.
That was another thought of mine. Like if we're going off like wherever he's originally from, which is probably overseas in a completely like 12-hour difference from us or something.
I was just
We're
like,
fucked.
yeah, if I take it to Stevie's house, that would suck.
Take him for a little visit.
Take him for a little visit.
Oh yeah. So the mom comes upstairs and then she's like, "What did you do? Get water on him?" And he's like, he's like, "No." And then he's like, "I fed him, but I'm pretty sure it was."
He's like, I double checked
before midnight. Like I know I checked, and he looks at the clock and it still says like 20 to midnight or whatever. And he's like, "What the heck?" And then he like grabs his clock and the cord is like like snapped off, or the cord is cut basically. And then he's just like, "What's going on here?"
Like, yeah, he knows something's up. He doesn't know what it is, but he knows something is up.
And then that's when Billy and Pete are at the school with the teacher, and the Gremlins also. There's also a cocoon at the school, and the teacher's like explaining the pupil stage and stuff, and like cutting the thing.
Yeah, cutting it out. He's like so excited. Like no one's like, you know, we broke a rule. Maybe this is a bad thing,
right?
And everyone's like, the teacher, and this is the teacher that I wish was the whole time. The science teacher that just loves to learn and loves to see new things and loves to like teach kids, because he was like explaining it and was like super into it. And I wish that was more of his character, and I don't feel like that hit the mark.
Mm-hmm. So he's like explaining the stages of what does he call it?
He had a word for it.
Yeah. The pupil stage or whatever. And then
he said he's like he's changing like my mom. He's like different kind of change.
Oh, and then the dad calls from the invention convention. And there's like a robot behind him or whatever, and he's like, "It's more advanced than I thought it would be."
And like she knows that's code for this ain't going good. We're not selling any. What do you call it? Bathroom gadgets. What did he call his little
the bathroom buddy?
Bathroom buddies. We're not selling any bathroom buddies. There's robots here.
Oh, and then it shows like the cocoons. And they're just all gross looking and stuff.
They are very gross looking. Like, they are very, very indicative of the evil about to come.
Yeah. And then it cuts to the bank again, and the woman that was like pleading with Mrs. Deagle earlier with the two kids was in there like talking to the owner of the bank or whatever, or the boss of the bank.
She sold her mother's wedding ring for $38.
Yeah.
That was so sad.
That is sad as shit.
She's like, I only got $38 for it. And then when we had to go back, because I kind of caught it, but I wasn't really paying attention enough. And then when we had to go back in the movie, it said it again. And I was like, oh my gosh, she sold her mother's wedding ring to keep her house. And they're still not allowing her to.
Yeah. And it sounds like he's kind of like sympathetic towards her, but he's like, "No, there's nothing I can do. You have to talk." Like Mrs. Deagle's the like mastermind.
His loyalty is with Mrs. Deagle very much. So like, because like when she collapsed, he's like Mrs. Deagle. Like, you know, he's very much a Mrs. Deagle fan.
Yeah. So then Mrs. Deagle comes in and she's just harassing Billy again about the dog. She's like, "Cash this check" or whatever. She's like,
but she like butts in front of people.
She's like, "Where's that dog of yours?"
And that's exactly how she talks too. She's very
she's like a very villainous woman.
She very much is.
And then it shows the cocoons like hatching at the house, which is like super cool.
Gizmo hiding in the helmet while they're hatching.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It's like so sad but so adorable at the same time.
So then at the school, the gremlin's like in the box or whatever, and then it must have hatched in the box, and it like falls over, and the teacher's like, "Oh shit." and then the bell rings.
Yeah, why
And the
were they
kids,
in
like,
school on
leave.
Christmas Eve?
I don't know.
Um,
Must be an 80s thing.
I was wondering, maybe it's a thing.
So then the teacher calls Billy and he's like, "Oh, it just the cocoon just hatched or whatever." And Billy's all excited. He's like, "Oh, sweet!" Like, and I'll just run right over there. So he's like,
He like
on his way
leaves
over to
work.
the
He just
school.
hangs. He doesn't even hang up the phone. He hands it to Kate, and she like
Yeah.
she like puts it to her ear and is like, "What?"
He just like leaves work, I guess.
Yeah,
and
he just
over
runs
there.
out of work.
So then the teacher's like looking around for the creature, the gremlin or whatever, and he's like, got a candy bar, and he's like, "Hey, I got a candy bar for you. Where are you? Like, come out." And then it basically just attacks him. And then Billy shows up to the school and like runs into the classroom and finds the teacher like dead, I guess.
That's what I was
Dead
going to
with, like,
ask you guys.
I guess he's dead. I
I
would
imagine
assume.
he's dead.
Yeah, because he like kind of like attacks his arm. Like he kind of seems like he's like getting attacked. And then he's got a shot in his butt.
Yeah, that's the one thing that makes me
A syringe hanging out of his
That's
ass.
the one
Yeah.
thing that makes me think that maybe he's not dead, is that the gremlin stuck him with a needle of something and made him pass out.
Yeah.
Possible.
They don't. Yeah, they don't really.
That's
say.
like the death toll in this.
You don't find out.
You have no idea because it's like,
Yeah.
well, they probably would have died, but this is a movie, so
the
we
whole
don't know.
town seems like it dies later. Like,
yeah, but
holy
we don't
shit.
know.
Right?
Yeah.
Imagine looking through the obituaries like 3 days after that.
Right.
You'd be shocked, like, "Oh my god, Mr. Denman's dead too?" Oh. Like,
So then Billy's like, "What the heck?" And then the gremlin like attacks him, like scratches his hand or whatever, and then like
Yeah, when he reached for the phone, that was such a jump scare. Oh my goodness.
yeah,
I like literally jumped. Like I probably screamed. I was like, ah! I wasn't expecting that.
So then the gremlin escapes through the vent, and then Billy goes to bandage up his hand, and then another kind of jump scare happens.
Yeah, he just like jumps out of the cabin.
Gremlin like comes out of the cupboard and attacks him, and then he runs away again. And then it cuts to the mom at the house, and she goes upstairs because she hears she hears the gremlins upstairs, and she's like, "What the heck?" So she goes upstairs and
Grabs a knife. This woman knows what she's doing.
yes, this is my favorite scene. It's so good.
I just love that she hears all this chaos upstairs, and she's like, you know what? I'm not messing around. I have a knife available to me. I'm going to use it.
She knows. Yeah, because doesn't Billy call her? Billy calls her and says, "They hatched. Like, get out of the house."
After this.
Oh, it's after?
I think so.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because she grabs the knife, it's when she's upstairs.
Yeah. But then before that is when Gizmo's like on the dartboard and they're like throwing darts at him.
I hate Gizmo so much, and I don't know really why. I don't know if it's because they feel like Billy likes him more, or if it's just like they know they're different and so they just don't like Gizmo.
Yeah. I think it's just because like Gizmo's not part of their crew, you know
Gizmo
what I mean?
is technically their parent, so maybe they should show him a little more respect. Just saying.
True.
Yeah.
Technically, yeah.
Just saying.
Because
he deserves it, the little nugget. I love him.
Yeah. And then he gets thrown down the laundry chute. Poor Gizmo.
I wrote in my notes, poor Gizmo using him as a dartboard. So mom is smart grabbing a knife. So
then, Billy calls and warns her, and then he runs. He's running to the house, and then it cuts back to the mom, and she's like, she means business. She's like, she ain't having none of that shit. She goes into the kitchen. One of the gremlins is like eating a cookie, and she just like fucking the first one she kills in the blender.
Yeah, because
he just like goes in the blender
because he's
like
eating the cookie dough that she has in there.
Yeah, and she just turns on the button, and it just guts go everywhere, and just
spurts blood all over the cabinet.
Yeah,
matches the orange juice.
Yeah, they don't use like real blood for that. That would have to be rated R if they'd use like normal red
green
blood, but it was green for the gremlins.
And then
so that was good on their part.
So she has the knife, and and the gremlin's like throwing like plates at her or something. She's using a TV tray as a
Yeah,
shield.
she's like-
and she just comes up and just,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
starts stabbing the
Oh,
shit
shit,
out
yeah.
of the fucking the second gremlin, and then the third gremlin, she takes the cooking spray and like sprays it in its eyes,
Yeah.
shoves it in the microwave,
in the microwave.
and turns the microwave
She said,
on
beep,
and just,
beep,
it just
beep,
explodes
start.
in the microwave.
And
So
he
awesome.
explodes. That was great.
I do want to
Yeah.
point out, I want to back up just a tad. When she's upstairs and they turn on the Christmas music and it's really, really loud, and she's like,
Oh yeah,
I love that
all
scene
creepy,
so
yeah.
much. And then she
Yeah.
goes downstairs and like she just talked to her son, the telephone cord was cut, like she's has no communication to the outside world. And she goes downstairs, and the attention to detail in this movie, I cannot stress this enough, is so good. They had little gremlin paw prints on the record player and like kind of on the wall. Like you could see where the gremlin had turned on the record player and like turned it up. And like I love that so much. They had that all throughout the movie of little details. Like there was one time when they were driving the car and on the window there's a gremlin print in the snow of Billy's car, like he was reaching up to get into the car. They didn't show that, but you could tell that had happened. So they did a lot of stuff where the audience could infer what was going on without having to go into great detail or like actually show it. And it's so good, and I wish movies would start doing that more.
Yeah. You should put into the inflation calculator that you were using earlier. You should put the budget 11 million.
Yes, it was 11
and
million.
See what it would have cost today.
Okay, so the inflation calculator.
I'm gonna take a wild guess and say 29 mil.
29.
It was an 84.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, 10 million is 18,190,225.12.
Wait, how much?
It is 18,190,000.
Oh, that's not
225.
See, that's so weird. It makes no sense to me that like
10 million. So we're missing another.
Yeah.
Still, that seems compared to the $200 bumping up to 700 something.
I mean, I guess you can't really. It's more small scale than like Marvel, so you can't really compare it to that. But I wish they would just start making movies like this more.
Honestly,
Go
like
back
this,
to
like the
practical
thing,
effects.
those practical effects in the thing.
Okay, here's a better one here. It is 40,989,817.96.
See, that's not even
believable
a
for
lot.
sure. That's not a lot.
I mean, I wish I had that kind of
Small
money.
loan of $1 million.
Okay. But okay, so how much did it make?
It made 212.9 million. I don't know if that's worldwide or not. It just says box office. I'm guessing it's worldwide.
That's $793,339,294.90.
That's a lot of numbers.
Damn.
Wow.
That's over $300 million is what this movie made in today's money.
Damn.
The fun I would have with that.
I'd just take 1 million. I would just take 1 million. That's all I need.
Honestly, I'd take 100K.
At this point.
Easy.
Yeah.
Oh, I could, breathe for a minute here. This town is awful. Taking all my money.
Okay, so I said 3 So at this point, I started counting gremlins because I was like, all right, there's 6, there's 3 down. And Mitch was just like, you just keep counting those gremlins, honey. Because he knew what was coming. Okay.
Yeah.
So then she goes into the kitchen, she was in the kitchen. She goes into the living room.
Yeah.
And I loved the scene. I put the Christmas tree attack scene. I love the scene.
Yeah, it's scary.
So much. It's so good.
Yeah.
She goes into the living room and the stocking is making noise. There's a gremlin in the stocking. So she has her knife and she stabs this stocking. And the only thing I could think of is they put Barney in the stocking and now she stabbed the dog. But
Oh
Barney
my god.
is, thank goodness, at the grandparents' house through this whole thing. Thank goodness for Barney.
That had not crossed my mind. I didn't even think about
I was
Yeah.
so worried
Oh,
that
can you imagine?
my biggest fear is
Ruin the
like,
movie.
"Ugh, if that dog dies, I'm never going to watch this movie again." That's my biggest fear.
No kidding.
So she stabs it, and out comes this robot, which again, who's getting the robot? Because Billy ain't going to use the robot. It's a toy that a child would want, and Billy's in his 20s. Anywho.
Excuse me. As an avid collector of action figures,
Fuck
I at 26, almost 27 years old, I understand.
Okay.
I mean,
I
this
would
wasn't
also
like a
not mind
collectible,
getting
and he's
He's a
living at his
cool
parents'
robot.
house.
He's a big toy.
So you never know.
Okay. I'm just saying,
It might be childish at heart.
I don't feel like he's the type of person that would want that. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I don't think most people look at me and think she needs you.
I mean, I do, but I know you will.
All right, Rebel. So then what happens?
Okay, so she turns around and I don't know if the tree attacks her or she attacks the tree. It kind of happens all at once. But she gets tackled by this tree. It is so good. It's so well done.
It's scary.
And it's scary. This gremlin is in the tree and screaming at her, and she's fighting for her life.
Like
and
scratching the shit out of her.
Scratching her, and it's so good. It's just...
Yeah, it's
if
really
you haven't
good.
watched this movie, please watch this movie. As someone who hasn't watched this movie and was kind of reluctant to watch it, watch this movie.
Yeah.
Please.
Right. Like, stop right now before we spoil the rest, because this is where it gets good.
So
Yeah,
stop
this
right
is
now.
where it really ramps up
Yeah,
after this.
stop right now, watch the movie, and then come back to us. So then Billy takes out the one, because then Billy rushes home. He knows his mom's in danger, and he grabs the sword off the wall. Or was it off the wall, or had it fallen on the ground?
I
think he got it off the wall.
Yeah, I think he got it off the wall, yeah.
The one that always falls on the ground. He grabbed it off the wall, and he just... I love this part too, because it's so coordinated. The mom knew what to do. She was like kind of sitting up, like trying to fight off this gremlin that's like on top of her. And then she leans back because she sees her son with a sword, and he swings it and knocks that gremlin out.
Yeah, knocks the head off. He cuts the head off.
Knocks the head off into the fire pit, and it burns in the fire. It looks so cool.
And it just shows the gremlin head like
burning in the fire. So
like,
good.
Cool. Oh, and then Stripe breaks through the window.
Yeah, Stripe's like, I'm ditching this popsicle stand. I can cause chaos elsewhere. He was the last gremlin. He was the last one to get rid of. Well, besides the one in the school, right? They didn't.
Yeah, the one in the school gets away.
The one in the school gets away, and then Stripe gets away.
Yeah. And then Billy brings his mom to, I'm assuming, her friend's house.
Yeah, it's the doctor. It's the town doctor.
Oh, okay.
And because he's the doctor, I don't know his name. He's the doctor.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. And he
just drops her off. Like, here you go.
Which I thought was so
like,
cute.
what's going on?
Away. Like, just leaving. He's like, I gotta go. And she's like, go, go, go. Like, leaving her to explain it to these very confused people.
Billy goes home and finds Gizmo in the laundry chute.
Yes. Poor Gizmo.
And the dad, and they keep cutting to the dad, which
I thought was kind of weird. I think they were really trying to point home that like the dad is like not home for Christmas and he wants to be home for Christmas.
Yeah.
I think that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah. So he calls and like no answer. So, and then Billy and Gizmo follow Stripe's footprints. Gizmo's in the backpack.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
They follow his footprints, Stripe's footprints to the YMCA. And they go in there, and Billy's got the sword, and he's just kind of like walking through the YMCA. They go into the pool room, and Stripe like jumps out of like a little cabinet thing inside the pool room, and then attacks Billy, scratches his stomach or scratches his chest, and then jumps into the pool.
There must be something with maybe Gizmo's just super smart. I don't know. But if you really listen to Gizmo throughout the movie, he knows when something's about to happen because he'll go, "Oh no," or he'll like say something.
Yeah.
And it's so cute, and it's like it's really fun to like listen to him. And I was really glad. I don't care what side you're on with subtitles or no subtitles. I am a subtitle person.
Mhm.
I really like that the subtitles.
I think most of our generation is.
Yeah, we're like
for
we
sure.
can't see, we can't hear, so we're gonna put on the subtitles. I really think that really helped me because there were some parts that were hard to hear the gremlins, and hard to, not only because they speak very gibberishy, but also like there may have been like background noise or whatever. And so when you have those subtitles on, it makes it so much easier, and I understood so much more because of that. So that's my little input, is put on subtitles for this one. Just because I thought, because I wouldn't have caught most of those little, because it almost sounds like he's cooing, but he's actually just going, uh-oh, or like he's saying stuff like, little things like that. So
Yep.
I thought those were really cool additives.
Yep. So Stripe attacks Billy and then jumps into the pool, and then the pool like starts bubbling, and it's all like neon green, and like
it was like a rave in there, man.
Or whatever. Yep. And then this is where shit like gets crazy.
Yes.
So cut to Mr. Futterman's house. So he's like messing with the TV, and again he's like being racist, and he's like, goddamn foreigners and their damn TVs, whatever, like, messing with shit. I don't know. I think it was just like there's people out there that were like that,
I do want to bring up, this is when we had our good conversation of clicker versus remote.
Oh, yeah.
Because they had, like, she says,
is it?
Oh, you have the thing. And I said, oh, she doesn't want to say remote. And Stevie and Mitch were like, you mean clicker?
Is that like a UP thing, or?
I wonder if it's a.
I don't know.
Like, we're on very different sides of the Midwest.
We're all from the Midwest.
Kind of like pop and soda, maybe. I don't know.
But I feel like it was. Yeah, I thought it was a Midwest thing, and I'm like,
because they said clicker, and I said,
honestly. Yeah, like we got in, and it was like a half an hour argument. We called other people into it. We're like, guys, what is it? What's a clicker?
Yeah,
because Stevie and I have had this conversation before about clicker versus remote. I have just never had it with Mitch, because he was like, wait, you don't say clicker? And I was like, I never heard a clicker until Stevie. I didn't know it was a word. Like, we had them in school, but that's just what they were called. They were called clickers.
Yeah,
but because
we never called it a clicker in school.
But it was like a handheld. Did you ever have them? They were like a handheld mobile type device where you could answer a question.
Like you'd
click it, and so it was called a clicker. So you'd click the A, B, or C, and then send it.
Oh, I didn't have that.
And then it'd send it to the computer, and they could project it on the board and like take surveys and stuff. Anyway, clicker versus remote. Put your input, which is right. We all know which remote is right, but put your input in.
Leave a comment.
Clicker. Don't be dumb.
Or remote. So then he goes outside. Mr. Futterman like goes outside to fix the antenna, and that's when he hears the gremlins in his like barn or whatever, or his garage, and he's like, "What the hell?" And then the fucking gremlins just burst out of the garage and just break into his house, and I guess they kill him, because then
we assume.
Or no, we forgot the scene where Billy goes to the cops, and he's like telling them about what happened, and the cops are just like making fun of him.
Oh yeah.
And then it goes to Mr. Futterman's house, and then it cuts back, and because that's when they get the phone call that the Futtermans died or whatever.
Yeah, because it never says that. That's the thing. This movie never says if anyone dies. You can assume. Yeah. You assume people die.
I think they die because the cop seemed horrified about it. He was like, "Oh, that's a horrible accident," or whatever.
Well, I mean, if a tractor ran into my house, that would be a horrible accident.
You do see one death.
Well, I mean, that's the one I was talking about.
I see it as they die.
Yeah.
Like they got ran over.
I'm gonna assume so.
Yeah.
But it's a Christmas movie, so they don't say it.
I do like how
Yeah.
he was like, the gremlins have taken over my tractor. Like,
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah,
they're
he's like,
real.
they're real. It's real
It's the
gremlins in my
gremlins.
tractor.
Okay, so they get run over by a tractor.
Then we get the fun little montage of like the priest going to the preacher or whatever. He's going to the mailbox and he like puts the mail in there and it like spits back out at him.
I love how he, like, this happens and then someone else comes up and the priest is like, you go right ahead. Because he's like, I don't believe that this just happened.
Did you know who the guy was that walked up? That guy that walked up and like was like, oh, like he walked up to the priest. That was the guy that was earlier. That was like when Mrs. Deagle was like, put him in the dryer and turn it up on high, and he's like, that'll do it.
He deserves
so
to
that
get
guy
eaten.
comes.
Oh,
That guy comes and
that's
he's like,
cool.
I just got a package.
yeah, I just got a package, and the priest is like, go for it.
Yeah, the priest is like, I just want to see what happens at this point.
Yeah.
I feel pretty guilty after that.
He puts the package in there, and the gremlin like must have grabbed his arm or something, and he's like, ah.
And then then it cuts to like a gremlin in the snow. What was that? Like immediately he's like writhing in pain because of his arm, and then it cuts to like a gremlin in the snow.
Oh, they must have been like watching from afar and
he was like
laughing at it or whatever.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
a little creepy. Man.
And then it shows the gremlin messing with the street lights.
I 100%.
And it crashes.
Yeah.
Fun little montage, and the score really picks up at this point too.
Mm-hmm.
You get like it really ramps up. And then the cops are like, it cuts back to the cop station, and they get the phone call about the Futtermans, and they're like, what the heck? So then they leave, and then it and then it's the Mrs. Deagle scene.
This
where
is
she's
so
like,
good. I feel like I'm repeating that a lot. Like, this is my favorite, but this is so good.
Yeah. She's like getting all her cats together, and she's like, come here, Dollar Bill. Like, one of her cats' name is like Dollar Bill or whatever.
Old Dollar Bill. Yeah.
And she's like feeding all her cats, and they're all like yelling at each other and shit.
Yeah, and they're like she's such a cat lady. Like, you don't really get that from her. And then when it happens, you're like, oh, that makes such sense why she hates dogs, and like, she's such a cat lady.
And she comes down on like that chair,
chair.
She can walk down the stairs. So she's got like that like electronic. Yeah,
because I was like,
that,
man, she can strut down the street, but she can't go down and up the stairs.
So then she's like feeding her cats, and she like hears something come through she must have like a cat door or something that goes outside, and one of the gremlins comes in through it, and she's like, and then she hears the carolers outside, and she's like,
carolers.
Damn carolers or whatever.
The glue sniffers? She called them glue sniffers.
The glue sniffers or whatever. So she opens the door, she's got like a vase of water like ready to like pour it on the carolers. Jeez. And then it's just a bunch of gremlins like all dressed up in like snow gear, and they're like, la, 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 la. Like singing like a whatever.
Yeah, they're like, fa la 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 la. It's so fun. And I'm like, where did they get the snow gear? And it's because they probably killed some carolers. Like, they just got some carolers along the way. I just love the creativity.
Yeah.
Putting on the outfits and like taking on personas and things.
Yeah.
Like, that was very
so cool. And like, you could tell they enjoyed it and they had so much fun, and like,
there's like total chaos.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So
then she goes inside and she's like, oh, they've come for me. I'm not ready to go.
She's like, they're here. Like, she's like, they're here.
Yeah,
they come for me.
Like, they're like demons or something.
Yeah, like did you make a deal with the devil, ma'am? Like, what is going on?
So then, or before she goes back inside, it shows the gremlin like messing with her chair. Yeah. And then she's like, she goes back inside and she's like, I'm not ready to go. And she's like,
I'm gonna
on her chair to go upstairs. And she hits the button and it just fucking makes her fly up the stairs and out the window. And then the cops see her like fly through the window.
Her just like, legs are sticking out of the chair.
Like, oh my god, Mrs. Eagle.
Easily my favorite moment of the whole movie.
God.
Watching an old lady fly through a window.
Like, you can't help but be satisfied. Like, when I first met her, I was like, she's gonna die in this movie. they're gonna kill her off.
So
And I
good.
was kind of excited about it.
and then the cops are like, "What the heck, Mrs. Deagle?" And then they see Santa, and he's like being attacked by a bunch of gremlins, and they're like, "What the heck is on him?"
Yeah.
And he's just like getting brutally attacked.
Roll up the window.
This comes back to that small town feeling. The sheriff's deputy goes, "That's, I don't remember his name. That's such and such. He dresses as Santa every year." So, like,
yeah, he's Santa every year.
So, like, that's another small town thing. Like, that's something we talk about. Like, we're not like, "Oh, that's just such and such." We're like, "Oh, that's such and such. He does this, or he's this person's brother or relative or something." So, like, I really like that they added that in there. Like, they must have whoever did this was from a small town or like knew what they were talking about, because they did it so well. I was very impressed with that.
And then it shows Corey Feldman's character like getting attacked, and he's like hitting him with a slingshot and like cutting this.
He's so cute. We're like, he's gonna get electrocuted.
You guys want to know something weird about Mrs.
What?
Deagle?
What's that?
How old do you think the actress playing her was at the time?
She
of
had a
filming?
lot of makeup on, so I don't think she was actually as old as what she was supposed to be presenting as.
She is still alive today.
I'm gonna guess she was like 30 or 40 max.
47.
Yeah, I was gonna say she wasn't very old.
Right?
You could tell, like, they put like makeup in her in all the crevices she had to like make it like enunciate
I think they did a good job with like the makeup and everything. So that's very impressive.
Yes.
Yeah. Very cool.
Oh, and then the cops like are randomly driving down the street, and then they just like crash.
Yeah, well, because he hit the brake.
That's the last you see of them.
They cut his brakes.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Yeah, okay, so there's a scene where he's like under a car or something, and he's like ripping out cords and like ripping out stuff.
Oh, like as they're seeing like Santa.
Yes,
right.
And then it shows them like hitting his brakes and nothing's happening, and he hits a truck and they just go flying.
He just like flips over, and it's just like total chaos downtown. Like the whole town is just like in chaos. And then it just cuts to the dad at the gas station. He must be trying to get home or something.
Yeah, he's trying to get home really quickly because he wants to be home for Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
and he's just calling. He keeps like calling them, and no one's answering.
Yeah, and he tries to sell the gas station attendant the smokeless ashtray, which he's like, "I see you're smoking" or whatever,
and the guy's like, "Yeah,"
or "I see your ashtray's broken" or something like that. And he's like, sells him the smokeless ashtray, and as he's driving away, he just sees this ashtray like just smoking a bunch.
Oh my god, absurdly.
Yeah. And then this is another good scene where it's the bar scene.
And poor Kate.
Where Kate is just like bartending to all these fucking gremlins, and they're just like
they're just chaosing,
like, causing chaos.
They're just causing chaos, and they're
one
just
of
like
them's
being
on the ceiling
drunk
fan
and just having a good time, man. And Kate is not. Poor Kate is not having a good time.
They're drinking. They're smoking cigarettes. They're singing. They're gambling. They're having their moment sitting at the table being all bluesy.
He's like having his moment, and then the puppet comes up.
Yeah.
Like, beep boop 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 beep boop boop boop.
They took like the goofy aspect of this movie to like the next level.
And like all I could think about is, these people creating this had so much fun with this scene. They had so much fun. And I think they had so much fun in a lot of their scenes. And it was still like not a goofy movie. Like, it's a little goofy, just like the premise, but it's not like a goofy movie. It's not something where you're like, well, that was kind of stupid. It's good and it's well done, and it's actually
they did
funny
well with the goofy aspect.
Yes, it's actually funny. Like, he was sitting at the table, I'm like, oh, he's having a moment, and then all of a sudden the puppet comes up, and I'm like, I guess he's not. And like, they're just like a bunch of little children, like a bunch of little siblings, just like going after each other,
gambling, drinking, smoking cigarettes. Kate's like trying to like light the cigarettes for him, and then I think that's when she realizes that they're afraid of light when she's trying to do it, and the one like falls over, and then the one with the gun shows up, or no, she grabs the camera and she starts like doing the flash thing, and then
He has like a robber's cap on, and like the eyes are cut out of it.
Yeah,
He's
one of
got
them
a
has
gun.
like
I
a.
don't know where they're getting
ski
these
mask
mini
on.
guns, but they have these mini guns. They're like little, and like Stripe shoots someone at one point because the little lady gremlin tells him to. Basically,
He shoots one of his own gremlins.
yeah, because he had better cards than him. He had 2 aces, I think.
Kill that guy.
And she kind of looks over, and then she looks back at Stripe and goes and like whispers in his ear, and then Stripe goes, "Oh," and then goes bang and shoots him. But like, it's just so funny. Like, they're entertaining. They're so entertaining.
Yeah. I think they did a good balance in this movie of like the goofy, the horror, the seriousness, like the sadness even.
Yeah.
Like it had its moments.
And then like the darkness.
The darkness,
Yes.
yes.
Like the next scene or whatever is like when
Yes.
yeah. It's so like and even just like so then she grabs the camera and that's when she realizes that the light
It was when she lit the match.
Yes.
Yeah,
He
she's
wouldn't let
trying
her.
to light their cigarettes or whatever, and the one
They
falls over.
shied away from the light.
Which I don't know how she lit the other cigarettes. Maybe they just got some that were already lit that people just like ran out.
Yeah, I think they just like had cigarettes. They just like because they
were burnt.
I don't think they knew what to do with them.
They were burnt, and they were like 4 in their mouth.
They were burnt?
Yeah, they had like ashes hanging off.
Oh, I thought they were unlit. Oh,
they had like ashes hanging off them, and they were like 4 in their mouth, and they were like drunk. And that's another question I had. So beer has water in it. So
it's like, you know, the show H2O
yeah.
on Nickelodeon. They can drink the water, but they can't touch the water.
But in this, he said you can't even drink water. He specifically said it. You can't drink it. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Oh, I don't remember that. Okay.
I wouldn't bring it up if he didn't say that, but it did.
Maybe because it's not like pure water.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have to have pure water. All right.
Another question to ask the director.
Yeah, we need him on the
when we get Chris
when
on
we get him
here,
on the podcast.
Chris Columbus, come on the pod. So then she gets the camera and she's like, you know, whatever, flashing. And the one with the gun is like trying to shoot her, whatever. It's kind of a tense little scene, and she like uses the camera.
Yeah.
And then Billy comes in and saves her. And then they go to the car, and the car doesn't start.
He's like, we have to make... Oh, I love when she jumps in the car and almost squishes Gizmo because he was in the seat. And she's like, what is that thing? She's like, you have one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a baby one.
And he's like, no, he's with me. It's okay.
So the car doesn't start, and then they go to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when...
Kate just
That's when
trauma dumps on him.
And she tells the story about her dad and how he died.
While Billy is like trying to find the phone, like she's like, "This is like what happened to me, and it's so sad." And Billy's like trying the phone, like not paying her attention, but she's just trauma dumping. But you know, Gizmo's like, "I'm paying attention to you."
So should we tell the story?
I'll tell the story. It trigger warning just in case, you know, because it is a little dark. So she tells the story. Yeah. So when she was 9, her dad left for work, I guess, and they didn't know where he was on Christmas Eve. And they didn't know where he was, and they were trying to find it, and it was like 7. She said several. She said like 5 or 6 days, and like no one knew where he was. So they can't find her dad. They go to the police. They can't find her dad. He's not at work. He's not going to work. And she said it was just chaos in her house. And the house was really, really cold. So she goes to light the chimney. And that's when she smells something. So she goes. So they go and call the fire department. Did she say who they called?
They called the fire department.
Yeah. And
they
thought it was a dead cat. Or a bird. But it was her dad, dressed as Santa, down the chimney. And he had presents in his arms. And, you know, she said something about him breaking his neck. And
he slipped and broke his neck.
He slipped and broke his neck. And she said, and that's how I found out that Santa wasn't real.
Yeah. That's like so fucked up.
Imagine, like, Who wrote that?
dark.
Who wrote that?
Oh my god.
You could have just said he
dude.
died in a car crash or something. Not that that's any less, but just like that
No,
was
they
like
said, "Go big or
such
go
a
home."
creative way to. I don't even want to say the word creative.
Yeah.
That is such.
It's just like so dark all of a sudden.
You
like,
don't even. Yeah,
crazy.
and then all of a sudden they're just like, okay, we gotta go. Like,
Yeah.
what?
So they leave and they're like walking downtown and everything's destroyed, and they realize that for some reason they must have seen a gremlin like go into the theater.
Oh
or something, I can't
no!
remember.
This is
But
when they're like, "Where'd all the gremlins go?" And he's like, "Oh, there's too much light here. Probably they want to go somewhere dark." And then they both kind of look towards the theater and they're like, "Let's look in there because I bet that's dark in there."
Yeah.
They kind of have this.
So they go
eye
to the
connection,
theater and like
yeah.
they're all in the theater.
I
And
love
like
the scene,
they're
too.
watching Snow White and they're all like singing and stuff.
Yeah.
And like
They're just having a
hi
grand
ho,
old.
hi ho.
Popping to Snow
Yeah.
White. Yeah.
I love that
they're all,
even a gremlin
they're all
can enjoy
dressed
a
up
song.
and stuff. And
They
like,
got the popcorn buckets over their heads with the eyes cut out.
yeah.
And Stripe keeps going, milk duds.
Living
I
their
need milk
best
duds.
lives.
So then Billy and Kate are like, let's blow this bitch up.
Yeah.
So they go and they find the like gas or whatever.
He's like, where's the boiler room? Oh,
Yeah, the boiler room. They go in there
it's in
and
a
they're
cellar.
like fixing to blow it up or whatever.
Mhm.
And then the gremlins see them as they're trying to blow it up,
Yeah,
and
in
they
the back of the
have
screen.
a little chase scene or whatever.
That
They get
That
out.
scene with the shadows on the screen when you see the gremlins coming was so cool.
Yeah, and they're all like scratching
and then
through
they
the
scratch through the screen.
and
Mhm.
stuff. Yeah. So then they get out and the theater explodes and they're like, "Oh, it's over." Blah blah blah. And then Kate looks over and she sees that Stripe was in the candy store.
Yeah, because Stripe he wanted milk duds.
Milk duds. Yeah.
He wanted milk duds, and they were out of milk duds because they ate them all. And then he looks up and he sees
Yeah.
candy, and he's like, "That's where I'm gonna get me some milk duds."
So Kate's like, there's still one in there, and then Billy's like, oh, that's Stripe, that's the leader. So they chase Stripe into the candy store, where they break up, or not break up, but like they
team off,
split off.
Yeah,
and yeah,
he's like,
and Kate and Gizmo go find. Billy tells him to go find the light switches, and Billy's gonna go find Stripe. So then, yeah, Billy gets attacked a couple times by Stripe. Like Stripe, like keeps like throwing shit at him. Like he throws like fucking saw blades at him and shit. And then
Hits him in the arm with a dart.
when he got hit in the back with that softball, or maybe it was a bit like when he threw it through the. All I could think about is that has happened to me before. And he acted so well during that because that's exactly what you do. You arch up.
Yeah.
He arched up perfectly. It was so well done. Like it was almost like he actually got hit. Maybe he did. I don't know. But like it was very, very well done. It wasn't very tacky. Like they were using items that you would find in a department store and like what would you attack someone with, and just like very creative. There was I'm like, where did he get a dart gun? Like, where did he get a crossbow? But like, it was fun, and it was
that's what
whimsical.
you find in a sports store.
Yeah,
like that, yeah,
right. Because a chainsaw.
Yeah, he has a chainsaw.
A chainsaw with a cord, like an electric chainsaw.
I noticed that an electric chainsaw.
Yeah, they have those. They do have those.
Yeah, I also like the part where he had he's like trying to find Stripe and he has the baseball bat and then all those TVs are there.
Yes.
And Stripe just shows up on the TVs and he's like, Billy.
Yeah, he's like,
and he like Billy smashes the TV. But yeah, that part's pretty sweet. So then this is pretty much the end. Like Billy gets attacked by the electric chainsaw with the cord.
Gizmo gets out of the backpack.
Oh yeah, Gizmo gets out and tries to find Billy.
Like a little hamster. He's so cute.
Yep. And then Kate turns on the lights, and that's when he's attacking him with the chainsaw. The lights turn on, and then he like gets blinded by the lights, and the chainsaw like takes him away.
And while Gizmo's living his best life in an RC car, his little car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gizmo's driving around in the car.
And he's like quoting the movie that he was watching earlier. It's so cute.
Yeah. And then Stripe finds the water fountain and sticks his finger in there. But the reason that he dies is because Gizmo comes in and like takes the car, and flies to the thing and puts the sunlight on him, and that the sunlight's what kills him. And then that's super cool. He's like melting.
That
and
is
shit,
so
like,
well done. It was so
as
good,
it-
and it was
oh,
Those
creepy.
like,
practical
bumbling,
effects at that moment
like,
were so well
And it
done.
was
so
so well
good.
done. And like when he's like melting and officially like dying, and the dad comes in at this point because the dog was.
But I just have to say one thing before Gizmo like pulls the thing. Stripe has the gun and he tries to shoot Gizmo,
He's like,
and he says,
"Gizmo."
"Gizmo, caca."
Yeah, he says,
Yeah.
"Gizmo, papa." Like, he's like,
That was good.
Yeah. So then Stripe's dead, and then the dad comes in and he's just like, "Whoa, what's
Yeah,
that?"
what's
Like,
happening?
he's so dumb. He's just like,
You missed everything, man.
I
Yeah.
love his character. I love the dad's character. I usually don't like
he's just like
the-
such a dad. Like,
I
just,
I
like,
usually don't like the salesman type. Like,
what's going on?
but he does it so well, and it's so good. And like his
Yeah.
voice is like super fatherly, and just like, I don't know. It was just, all the characters are so well done. They don't seem tacky. They don't seem forced. I just love these characters, and they're very good actors too. They take their role seriously. They just did a really good job.
One thing I really liked about the dad and the family is that the family was so supportive of the dad
Yes.
chasing his aspirations at his age.
Mhm.
Most people
Yeah.
would say like get a grip, get a job,
Mhm.
support your family. But no, they
Yeah.
all like they went along with it. They thought it was great.
And they don't have money
Mhm.
either, because
Right.
earlier in the movie when Billy's at the
Bar.
and that coworker's
He's
kind
"You're
of like
supporting your
harassing him or whatever.
parents."
Yeah, he says like, "You're supporting your parents, like when are you gonna move on?" Like blah blah blah. So like they're just like supporting the dad and like waiting until he gets this big invention.
And they're
that,
like supporting each other too, because like, you know, especially in that time in like the 80s and stuff, like he's in his 20s. Like, he should have, if he was like following timelines, been married and had a house of his own. But he's sticking with his parents because he knows his parents won't be able to make it unless they're getting his paycheck working at the bank.
Yeah.
And like, he doesn't like working at the bank. You can tell he doesn't like it.
One thing too that I really liked about like him and Kate and their obvious like supposed to be love interests is that Kate understands why he's doing what he's doing, because she's basically doing the same thing by the sounds of it, without
Yes.
her dad there to help support.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like nobody else in the movie understood.
Yeah.
Like dude at the bank, what
Yeah.
was his name again?
I don't know his name. I don't think they said
The
it,
one
did
calling
they?
him Clip On. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was making fun of him for it and everything, you know. Everybody was like, you know, not supportive, but she was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So Stripe's dead, and then Billy goes up to the fountain and it does like the one last like jump scare thing, and Stripe looks super cool. He's like all melted and he's just like pretty much bone, and he like falls
was
to the thing and
so
turns into like a
cool.
bubble, and Barney's just like looking at it like, ooh,
Yeah.
and it's just like bubbling, and then
they just leave. They're like, we're done.
they just go back home. Yeah, they go back
That's
home and
cool.
they're just like watching the news, and the news is like
Mass hysteria.
the news. I think the news was just saying that it was like
Mass
a
hysteria.
bunch of accidents.
Yes, it was a
like,
bunch of
mass hysteria and
accidents.
accidents. They weren't saying gremlin.
They said little green people or something.
Yeah, they're like, oh, well, they said little green people. They were like making fun of them. Like, you know, this can't really be happening.
This town's crazy. There's
Yeah.
something in the water.
Yeah. And then enter. He doesn't knock because no one in this movie knocks.
Yeah, he's just there.
He also
The old man
didn't
from
knock the sword
beginning.
off the wall.
No, he didn't. No.
True. Yeah.
Well, it's only when the door shuts.
So-
They never shut the door.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he did leave it open,
Mhm.
didn't
He
he?
did.
So I guess he's like Gizmo's dad, I guess.
Gizmo's original owner. We can call him.
The old man comes in and he's just like standing there ominously,
Yeah.
like, and then he's just mad about Gizmo watching
Yeah, he's like,
TV.
you taught him to watch TV. I'm like, I don't think you have to teach anyone to watch TV. You just kind of sit him in front of it.
Right.
But, you know,
He was having a good time.
he was. He likes the TV. He learned how to drive because of it. He said, vroom, vroom.
Right. Better than sitting in that boring ass dark box all day.
playing his Game Boy that
Yeah.
doesn't exist yet.
So he's just like,
Get this kid an Atari.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Mogwai back because you don't
have
have
no
the
responsibility.
responsibility to do it.
And I love that the dad, who had nothing to do with any of this, he wasn't even there, just was like, I'm sorry. Like, he's like, I made a mistake. Like, you had nothing to do. Like, you kind of stole the Mogwai in a twisted sense. But you had nothing else to do with this. You weren't even home. But you're gonna take it for your kid. Good job.
Mm-hmm. I love how Gizmo's just like in the box and he's just like, Mogwai, Mogwai, like talking randomly.
And he's like talking
And
to him.
then-
He's like, you speak Mogwai? He's like, anyone. Like, you can hear if you just listen or something.
If you just listen,
Yeah.
And then he comes out of the box and says, bye, Billy.
You're so cute. He's like,
And then that's all he says.
He's like, yeah, like he's gonna say something profound. Like you think that he's gonna be like
love you, Billy, or
well,
like
you think at first he's like Gizmo's like freaking out, like, and you think he's gonna be like, no, I want to stay here, and he's like, oh, he wants to say something to you, and then he's just like, bye, Billy, like, see you later,
Yeah,
thanks for
like-
the adventure.
And Billy's just kind of like, oh, I guess he's going. Bye.
Bye.
There's
That's
nothing
my
I can
pet.
do.
I love him very much.
I really enjoyed the ending narration too after that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. How he's like, check your TV or your stereo, or there might
Under
just
your
be a
bed.
gremlin inside. And then the score is like going and stuff.
Yes.
Oh, the score
That
is
was
so
good.
Anyway, it's so well
There
done.
might just be a gremlin in your house.
Mhm.
That was awesome. Good ending. All around good.
All right, we gotta rate it.
Ghoulies, yeah.
We're doing Ghoulies.
How many Ghoulies? Are we doing like out of 10 Ghoulies?
We can do 10.
I mean, it's going to be easy for me, but who wants to go first?
I'll go first because you guys are gonna
Rebel.
hate my score.
All right, Rebel, you go first.
I'm gonna rate it a 9, just because I think it is so good. I love this movie. I enjoyed it. I will be watching it again. But I'm scared that there's gonna be a movie that I will like more, and then I don't want to give this one a 10 and then not. But this one is definitely a 10. Especially compared to the last one with the Pooh Bear. I'm so sorry. That one was not. Like, after you watch a good one, after you watch a bad one and then a good one, you realize how bad the original one was, you know. This one was the attention to detail. There was only a couple of things where we were like, wait a second, like how the cigarettes weren't lit, and there was something else. Like, just very, very few little details that didn't even matter. The acting was anywhere from decent to above average, like very, very, very well done. Gizmo, like the animatronics, I guess they were because it said they were puppets, and that some of them were.
Yeah, I think they were puppets.
Yeah, some of them were. It said
There's that one scene of stop motion that was beautiful.
Oh yeah, where they're all walking. We forgot that scene
down the
they're
street.
all
That
walking
was
down the
some
street,
which were
beautiful
mechanical
to me.
Yeah, so numerous small rubber puppets, some which were mechanical. So
okay.
I usually don't like stuff with puppets. I usually don't like stuff with this, but it fit so well. Like, you almost forgot that they were fake. They had so much emotion. I enjoyed it so much. I was even rooting. It was like, I always think the best villains are ones that you also kind of root for. And throughout this, the Gremlins, I was kind of like, I would do that. Like, they're just having fun. They're just causing
It's
chaos.
so chaotic and fun.
It's like, if you 100% took my ADHD and made it into a creature, this is what the creature would be. 100%. And like, I love that. And I think it was such a creative way to make a scary movie. Could it have been a little scarier if you wanted to call it a scary movie? Yes, but I think that's what makes it a classic. You can watch it during Christmas time. It doesn't feel tacky. Like most Christmas scary movies are tacky because they're like trying to push the Christmas narrative. This wasn't. It just happened to be set during Christmas time.
It wasn't like an evil Santa.
Yes, and it was like, and I think that heightened it. Like, it happened to be during Christmas time. There was snow, there was lights, it was beautiful. But like, and there was like that weird little, layover of like her dad died of Santa. Like, oh my god, it was so well done. I just really, really enjoyed this movie. So at least 9 Ghoulies for me, just because I'm saving the 10 for a very special movie.
You can give multiple 10s.
I know, but I'm just saving the 10.
I was thinking that.
I'm just saving the 10 because if I don't, I will just be giving 10s all around. So 10s are only for special occasions for the Rebel.
I feel that.
What about you, Steve?
I would give it a 9.5 Ghoulies.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it was all around, I'd say it was all around pretty perfect. It proved very much so that practical effects over CGI any day. They did so well with that. And then the score and the soundtrack for the movie was absolutely perfect as well. Those were probably my 2 favorite things about the movie. But I give it the 9.5 because it's not a movie that I want to rewatch like immediately or anything like that. There are very few movies in this world that I want to rewatch right away. And so I save that 10 as well.
You're the 10
Those are my 10 typically. Yeah.
Save it for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sequel or something.
Yo. Yeah, hold on. If they made another like Rise movie, yo. Anyway, that was off topic. That's it. 9.5 Ghoulies for me.
Well, I'm not afraid to give it 10.
Mitch is like,
it's a fucking 10, dude.
Like,
this movie is just... I mean, this movie was my childhood. I mean, it's just up there with, like, Jurassic Park and Goonies, and it's just... I watched this a lot when I was younger. I mean, it was probably one of my... And it was probably, like, one of the most... It was probably one of the movies that, like, got me into horror, like, if we're being for real, like... So, yeah, I don't know. Everything is just so good in this movie.
And I think if I would have had that nostalgia with it, I would probably give it a 10. Like, it's such a good movie.
Yeah.
It just didn't have something, and I think it was the nostalgia factor that I don't have. But like, it's something that I'm excited. Like, I'm gonna go to my parents' house and watch it with my mom now, and like, she's gonna get so excited because like, this is something she's been trying to get me to watch for forever. So I am very happy that I watched it. If you were like me and were kind of like, that sounds kind of dumb, like, they're just like not. That's something I want to point out too. I thought it was going to be one of those movies that was like, they were given rules, they broke the rules, and now they're suffering the consequences. While they did break the rules, it wasn't in ways that were blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
It was in ways that were like, they couldn't necessarily control. The water being splashed on him in the first place. Like, that was a little kid making a mistake that he didn't even know the water was there. They didn't even know what was in the cup.
Yeah.
Because they're like, what was in the cup?
And
they're like,
eating after.
And like the eating after midnight. That was set up by Stripe.
That was them. Yeah.
That was them setting it up. And that was another thing I want to kind of get back to. Like, when he offered it to Gizmo, like, Gizmo could have taken it. They kind of show like, don't feed them, even no matter how much they beg. Like, they want to be fed, they want to turn into these gremlins, and Gizmo didn't want to. He knew what was going to happen, and he's like, no thank you. Like, no thanks. Yeah. I want to stay a cute little Gizmo, furball. Little furball. That is my thing in life. And so I think that really shows Gizmo's character, because that's what these creatures are so well done, and are so they become their own characters, like they're supposed to be. It's not just like, oh, it's just a gremlin. Like, all of them have their own personalities. I mean, once you get to where there's like thousands of them, they kind of can't, but like, they all have their own personalities, and I think that it was very, very well done.
Yeah. Yep, it's a classic for sure. It's
very much so.
One I revisit frequently.
It's definitely something I would be willing to watch every Christmas and be more of a Christmas movie for me, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't watch it like not. I mean, I guess I could watch it not at Christmas, but I mostly watch it at Christmas. Yeah. So.
All right.
Yep, that was Gremlins. So.
Stay tuned for
Um,
our next episode. I think I'm picking it. Am I
Yep.
the lucky winner?
I believe so.
Do you have an idea of what you're gonna pick, or I'm scared.
I have a little
We're gonna be
idea.
watching
We're
Zombie.
gonna be watching. I think if we pick what I have in mind, it's going to be a little bit of a classic and a little bit of I kind of have my heart set on a really crappy movie. I don't know. I just maybe that's just the kind of movies I like. But we'll see. One of those that it's just so bad it's good.
All right.
We're gonna run with that. I love it.
Okay. Yeah, just make it so bad it's good.
That's the kind of vibe I want. We'll see. I may not even pick that movie. I don't know.
Cool beans.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll see.
GG's, boys.
GG's.
Until next time. Good night, Gremlins and Ghoulies.
Good night, Gremlins and
Stay
Ghoulies.
spooky.
Stay spooky.
Stay
yeah.
spooky, my friends.